Welcome to Homeschool High School's geometry class. My name is Dawn Younger. For the 26-27 school year, I'll be teaching 5 different classes. For math, I'll be teaching middle school math foundations, Algebra 1 and geometry, and then for science, I'll be teaching earth science and physics. So let's talk about the geometry class. This is going to be a live class. There won't be a video version of this since I will be teaching the Saxon curriculum. We'll meet 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, which will leave your Wednesdays open for field trips or co-op or whatever your family would like to do during that time. So let me show you how you would access the class. So first of all, you would need to go onto Skool, which is skool.com. That's the platform that we use. And then under that, you would search for Homeschool High School, or you can just click on the link in the description below. Then you click into Homeschool High School, and that will take you to the About page. That gives you an intro video as well as some information about the community, and then you can join the group. Once you've joined, you can go into the classroom and you can go here into class information. You can find the course schedule for all the classes that are available during this school year, and then you can go down to the geometry live class. You'll also see though that all of these live classes say unlock with a VIP. So you will need a VIP membership to be able to join that class. Once you have joined, you can go to classroom and scroll down to geometry live and click into that. The geometry information page there is exactly the same information as you would find on the classroom information, just within the class that it's easier to access. We'll be using the Saxon geometry class. Saxon has 2 versions. So Saxon Algebra 1, 3rd edition, incorporates geometry into their class. 4th edition Algebra 1 pairs with this 1st edition of geometry, where they've separated out the geometry piece. I like it because then you can have them as separate classes on your high school transcript, and it kind of keeps you on one track throughout the whole year. So that's why I'm using this one. We'll go through the entire program over the course of the year, and it will get you ready for Algebra 2 as well. So a prerequisite for this class will be Algebra 1. Students need to have completed Algebra 1 before moving on to geometry. And then following geometry, the next class would be Algebra 2. Just in case you're wondering, I have done Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and then geometry, and that is no fun. That was not a good decision on my part, so I will not be doing that again. I highly suggest doing Algebra 1 and then geometry and then Algebra 2. It's a good middle ground between Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 as far as difficulty. So this is good for 9th through maybe 11th graders. Obviously, if you have younger or older students that you think it would be a good fit for, you are more than welcome to put them in that class. Just again, please make sure that they've had Algebra 1 first. We'll follow it lesson by lesson, do every single lesson together. We'll be meeting live August 17th through May 28th, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, from 9 to 9:55. And then we'll have that optional homework session where students can do the homework together, at least as much as they can get done in that 25-minute session. Then they would be responsible for doing the rest of the homework on their own. If a student needs to miss a class, I will record them and put them within this live class and keep it up only for 7 days. Again, I won't have the video course for this class, but it will be up for 7 days before it's taken back down, just in case a student misses a class, and that way they don't miss a concept. So for each class, we'll work through a lesson. So for these lessons, there's a warm-up, which reviews some concepts, usually very specific concepts that we're going to use in the class. So that's a nice review. Then I will teach through the new concept, walk students step by step through each of the problems, and then we'll work through the lesson practice together. Then this practice that says distributed and integrated, that is the homework that students will have. Now, Saxon is a pretty heavy course, and so I feel that doing all of the homework is a lot. So I ask my students to do half of the homework. So on even numbered lessons, they do even numbered problems. On odd numbered lessons, they do odd numbered problems. If you would like your student to do all of them or fewer of them, that is at your discretion. But what I suggest and what I'm going to ask and expect of students is that they do every other question of the homework. That's enough to get enough review to really understand it, but not be overwhelming. So that is what a day would look like. Starting in lesson 10, every 5 lessons, there's a test. And in order to get a full year worth of curriculum in 4 days instead of 5 per week, on days when there are tests, we don't do the homework, we do the test instead of the homework. So that means with lesson 10, they wouldn't do the lesson 10 practice, they would do test 1. So on those days, there won't be the student meetup. They will just go and do the test on their own. On the other days, I will not be part of those student lessons because I'll be moving on to teach my next class, but they'll be able to work through it together. My daughter will be the host of that session, and she'll be writing down as they solve the problem so that everyone can see what's going on there and work those together. That is an option. They do not have to do that homework together, but that's an extra resource available that has been really helpful for my students this past year as they've done Algebra 1. It's been really nice for them to be able to work through at least some of the homework together. As far as homework goes, I allow my students, my own children, to grade their own lessons. What that means is they do it first, then they look and see what they missed and try to figure out what they got wrong. If they go through it and don't understand what they got wrong, then they can bring those questions to me during the next class, and that will be the first thing that we do, is go over any questions that they had that they didn't understand why that was the answer. So that allows for a little bit of review and to clarify some things so that we're not moving on when students aren't understanding a previous concept. Like I said, there are tests every 5 lessons, starting with lesson 10. Parents will be responsible for grading those, but if in the course of grading them, you come across something that you're a little confused about, you're always welcome to send me a chat message on Skool, or you can post it in the community. So if you look at the community right now, there's the general discussion, there's chemistry class and meetups. When the semester begins, there will be one for the geometry class. So you could go in there and post a question on there, and I will answer it, or maybe another parent can answer. If you have a question, there's a good chance somebody else will as well. I've noticed that going through this past year with my daughter and a friend who are going through Algebra 1, oftentimes they had the same question. So if you post it on there, it can actually help other students. Or you can just send me a message and I will help you out that way. So that is what assessments look like. As far as supplies, you will need the Saxon Geometry Homeschool Kit, which includes the textbook, the tests and test answer keys, and then the solutions manual for the homework. So that's 3 books that are included with that. Besides that, students will need pencils, erasers, notebook paper, so that's lined paper, graph paper, a ruler, a protractor and compass, and a TI-84 calculator. So I have included links to that homeschool kit that includes all 3 pieces. I've also included a link to graph paper. Obviously, you can use any graph paper you want. This is just a suggestion of a kind that I like. There's also a link to a protractor and compass set that my kids will have that includes several different kinds of compasses and several different kinds of protractors, as well as straight edges and pencils, erasers, that kind of thing. So that will be very useful for them. Again, you can use any kind of protractor or compass as you want. That's just one that looked like it included a lot of things that would be important. And then a TI-84 calculator. So I know this is pricey, but this is something that they would be able to use for geometry, Algebra 2, SAT or ACT, and then also all the way through college. This is a really good calculator. It's what my son is encouraged to use in his mechanical engineering classes. It's just a really good calculator that will last your students as long as they need it, probably. What I'm suggesting is the TI-84 plus CE. I will say the labs that are in geometry that teach them to use the calculator only teach the TI-84. So if you choose to go with a different calculator, just know that you as the parent will be responsible for teaching them how to do those functions on that different calculator. I will not have time during class to teach how to use each of the different calculators. From experience, I decided that I was going to buy a cheaper version and bought a Casio for my son. Perfectly good calculator, did great things, but it took me a very long time to figure out the equivalent on the Casio that was on the TI-84. that was taught in here. So in here, it goes step by step and teaches you exactly how to use it to do what you want to do. If you have the time and inclination, you're welcome to do that, or please do get the TI-84 if you can. There are several TI-84 simulators. I have not had an opportunity to use them and try them out. If you just can't afford a TI-84, you could go onto one of those and see how well they work, if they really do what they're supposed to. I don't have experience with them, I just know they exist. So that's an option if you're not able to purchase a TI-84. But that's why I specifically put that one. And I've done a little bit of research, and the TI-84 plus CE is preferable to some of the other TI-84s that are out there. So that's why I linked to that specific one. In geometry, students will learn things about points, lines, planes, angles, segments, triangle congruence and similarity and properties of triangles, parallel and perpendicular lines and slopes and equations, polygons, quadrilaterals, circles, perimeter, area, surface area, volume, transformations, symmetry, coordinate geometry, right triangle trigonometry, trigonometric ratios, vectors, three-dimensional geometry, proofs, and constructions with a straight edge and a compass, and also logic. So they will learn a lot during this time. Things that can be benefits for these live classes are, one, you have some consistency and accountability in doing them. I know, at least in my family's experience, if you don't have somebody you're doing it with, it can be easy to be like, oh, we'll skip math for today. And then you end up having a whole lot that you're trying to catch up on. Whereas if you're doing it live, you have that accountability of always having your homework done, making sure that you're prepared for class. There's also an interactive environment where people can ask questions. They can hear other students ask questions so that they know that they're not alone, the only ones who are not understanding something, which is really nice, but also asking specific questions about things that they don't understand. And then with those peer homework groups, there is support there. Those are some of the benefits of those live classes. So let me show you the syllabus for this class. If you go down to the geometry syllabus for 2026-2027, and click on that link, it'll take you to the PDF for the syllabus. It shows you the date of the class, which lesson we'll be going over, and what the homework is. So you see for lesson 1, the lesson 1 mixed practice and doing the odds. If you go down to lesson 10, instead of homework, so it says no homework session today because students are doing a test. Or if you go down to September 8th, you'll see that's lesson 12 and a lab. That's a lab where they're learning to use their calculator. And then also we cover all of the investigations as well. So if you go down, it's listed out all the way through the end of the school year. If you noticed, and we went through and everything went perfectly, I did not get sick, didn't have anything come up, we didn't need to take 2 days for any lessons, we could potentially get done by May 13th. However, life happens. So I have scheduled it out all the way through May 28th. That allows for, if something happens and I can't do a class a certain day, or more importantly, if we get to a lesson that is taking a little bit longer to get through, we can split that into 2 days and just move everything down. So I've built in those makeup days so that we know we might go to the 28th. So I just go ahead and plan on it going that long, because I do like to make sure that students are really understanding the concepts. So if we need to take a little extra time in classes, we will. So let me show you how you would actually access the class. So this is within the course, but if you go to calendar and go over to August, you can go here and you'll see 9 a.m. and click on that. It takes you to the geometry class. It says 9 to 10. That's because it doesn't give me an option for 55 minutes. It's 30 minutes or an hour. So I picked the one that's closer. So it's from 9 to 9:55 actually. But then you'll just go on here and click on that. That will take you to the Zoom link. And then you can join that class. Then the same thing is true for the homework session. If you're wanting to do that, you come down here to the 10 o'clock. And that goes from 10 to 10:25. Right now it's showing a Skool link that will actually change to a Zoom meeting, but I've got to get that set up for my daughter who's going to be hosting that class and writing for everyone as they go through the problems together. So I have to set that up under her Zoom account. So I'll have that up before classes get started. So that's the homework session for geometry. So that's how you access that. In order to access these, like I said, you will need the VIP membership. If you upgrade to the VIP membership before August 10th, the cost is $27 per month, and that is for as many live and video classes as your family would like. So you only need to upgrade one account. You can create separate accounts for parents or students, but you only need to upgrade one account in order to access all the live classes and all the video classes that I have available. If you join after August 10th, that price will go up to $39, but whichever price you start at is what you lock in for as long as you have your membership. So if you lock in that $27 a month, you lock it in for as long as you keep your membership. So that is what the course will look like and how to access it. I hope that answers the questions you have about our geometry class. If there are questions I didn't answer, you can on Skool send me a chat message and let me know what other questions you have, or you can email me at Homeschool High School SC, that stands for School Community, so Homeschool High School SC @gmail.com. And I hope to see you soon.